Hey guys, we're having some technical difficulties. So watch us as we do the whole awkward, like, what is happening?
Yeah, we don't know what's going on.
Go back up to, we're having the weird delay that we had before. So let us know if you are also having a delay issue or if we're garbled at all.
Sorry guys, you get my face, my beautiful face. Can you hear us, first of all? What up, Chris?
Hey, Chris. It's working. Okay, cool.
Okay, that's all.
All right, let's go back to where we can see our comments. Or we're not.
This is playing right now.
Oh man.
Oh, I'm gonna go shut down.
Down Google.
Google didn't want to do that. We can see comments on there too.
They will pop up.
Yeah,
once
but they're not gonna be big.
Okay. They'll be on the side, won't they?
Yeah, they'll be on the side.
Who else is here with us? Hi, Chrissy. Baby! We've had a little bit of runaround. It's been awesome tonight trying to get this out for you guys. So we're excited. Whatever we have to deliver tonight actually seems to matter.
Seems to matter.
Woo! The last 40 minutes has been a race. Hi, Hope!
Yep, so, oh man. We got about 1 minute before we get going here. I don't know what's going to happen up here, so we're going to...
Hi, Becky.
Hey. Let's see.
All right, if those of you who have already joined us, if you don't have a pen and a piece of paper or a notebook and a pencil, go ahead and grab those now while you're waiting.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Hey,
Dana, how are you? It's been a while.
Oh, that's right, you would have done it.
Yeah, I would have done it there. Yeah. Touch things.
Come back. Well, I had to turn off your alarm, otherwise it would have kept going.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, I don't think we need to mess with it unless you're going to try to go back.
No, I'm just going to leave it right here.
All right.
Yeah, we'll get our things there. All right. We're just going to go. If you guys can hear us and you can see us and it's not blurry, those are all wins.
Yep. Better than the last one.
Absolutely better than the last one.
All right. Let's do it.
All right.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Well, welcome to tonight.
Yes.
We are so excited you guys are here. We're so excited. Hey, Angela. For all the people that are joining us, we've just been blown away. Our first video has almost 400 views, and we're just...
That's ridiculous.
It wasn't even a good quality video, but the information, we're just really, really excited for what came out of that night. And so we are equally as excited tonight to talk about something, again, that not too many people talk about.
No.
Which is relational circuitry.
Relational circuitry, yes.
So, you ready?
Here we go.
Let's do it.
We're going to jump right in. So, relational circuits. We're going to talk about these tonight. So it's an amazing tool to build relationships with yourself, with God, yourself, and others.
Yeah.
It's a great way to do that. Many of us struggle at times to feel joy, especially if we define joy as knowing someone is glad to be with us.
Yeah, we talked about that in the last video about how we have learned to define joy maybe a little differently than most people have. It's not joy as in, I feel happy today or I feel happy in this moment, but really it's about that deep knowing that somebody's glad to be with you. And if you think about some of your most cherished memories in life where you felt the deepest joy, was that crazy sense of either knowing that another person was glad to be with you, or you were glad to be with another person, or God was glad to be with you.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, hey, Jessica Carlton, how are you?
Hey.
It's good to see you on there. So why does it feel at times that people aren't actually glad to be with us? And sometimes we're not even glad to be with ourselves. So
good question.
That's a very good question. So could it possibly be that our brains just aren't locked in. They're not being relational at all.
It could be. So you're basically saying that when I can't be relational, it has to do with my brain?
It has everything to do with your brain. That
All right.
So your brain might be blocking your ability to receive joy from those around you. So it actually may not have anything to do with the people that you're hanging out with or the people that are with, because they very well may want to be with you. But if your relational circuits aren't on, then you can't perceive that they're happy to be with you.
Interesting. Okay. All right. So there's actually a place in your brain that can be in 3 different positions. So on, off, or dim.
Yeah.
And the brilliant people at Life Model Works, excuse me, refer to this place as your relational circuits, or RCs for short. So we'll refer to it as both tonight. So here's the scoop.
Yeah.
Your brain is a relational organ. Shocking. Just like every other organ, your brain has a function. And it's not just to be smart or to make it through school or to learn.
Those are all
just
good.
Learn things.
Yeah.
You have specific circuits in your brain that are responsible for helping you understand and actually do relationship.
Yes.
So relationships, we always talk about relationship coming from the heart, right? Like nobody would like get you a pendant of a brain. It's kind of a little less attractive. Well, hearts aren't really pretty either when you.
Well,
like,
they do the
yeah, but like
hearts.
that's not what your
real heart is.
looks
No.
like. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the circuits dim under stress, and they actually shut down in triggering.
Okay.
So you'll figure out where yours have shut down before and where they may even be shut down now. Subtle triggering causes the brain to dim these circuits, which narrows our perspective. So when our circuits are dim, we can often get trapped in stuck on ideas or stuck in a mindset. So when you feel like in life that you're stuck, it very well could have to do with your relational circuits.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, you see, when the brain is in a relational state, when the brain is in a relational state, we can access positive memories of our relationships. So when we're actively and our circuits are on, then it's a lot easier for us to access those things that brought us joy and they brought us happiness. And the brain works best in community. And when it feels alone, it freaks it out the brain.
So as we were preparing the material, we were thinking about just how much this relates to our current time right now. That how many people you watch Facebook and you see how many people are struggling to cope right now.
Yeah.
But a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're not getting the relational interaction that they were used to, or maybe they didn't have enough to sustain this time period, and so their brain is literally physically freaking out. It's an actual real thing that's happening. It's not perceived. Different people will handle these type of situations different ways, but if that's you and you had a really hard time working through this season, there's a reason for it.
Yeah. So when your relational circuits are on or they're humming, this is what your brain is able to do. So we're going to read a few things off here. So it says your brain is able to be flexible in your thinking.
Okay.
You can use all of your senses. So when your relational circuits are on, you can use your sense of smell and sight and taste and hearing are all
interesting
heightened because you're relational and you're looking for those cues.
Is that why ice cream tastes so good?
Probably.
Like when you go to the ice cream station and you get there.
Because you're ready for it, you can attune. And so what that is you get in sync with your emotions or with other people's emotions. And so basically what that means is that you are, what we like to say, you're in their boat. So you get into their boat. So you hear them, they're seen, they're heard. You experience their feelings with them. It doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with what they're feeling, but it does mean that I'm attuning to you, or yes, I can see how this would upset you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can feel what you're feeling in a sense, and it relate to it.
Yes.
Yeah, even your body language. Attuning, you see this even in business where you can attune to the other person even in body language. It's very interesting. But when our relational circuit's off, we just don't really have the ability to do that.
No. So when they're on and are humming, then you're also able to regulate your emotions. You're able to be open and interested in what other people think, feel, and say.
Okay.
And then you're also able to focus or shift your attention. So that would be like at work sometimes if you are not able to focus in on something, the ability to be able to kind of settle yourself and walk away and refocus and then come back
Right.
to that task or a different task.
Yeah. So this kind of explains why when you're having a tough day, or if you fought with your spouse, or maybe had something that was upsetting, you can't focus back on work. It's because your relational circuits are off, and so you're actually even not able to function normally. I know when I'm having a hard time being relational, or my relational circuits are off, I'll scroll Facebook. I'll just start to numb. Like, okay, I just can't. Feeling right now is not possible. I can't connect with anybody. So my ability to focus at something in a healthy way is just basically gone.
Yeah.
So most of us can probably picture times where this list has felt literally impossible. You could probably picture a time where you were in the middle of a fight with somebody that you really cared about, or maybe got some really disappointing news. And it's likely then that your circuits were off. Like maybe you got stuck on an idea and the world was going to end as far as you were concerned.
Yeah.
Like we've all been there, right? Like something happens and all you can think about is the negative of it.
Yeah.
Or maybe in a relationship, you get in a fight over something and all you can do is get stuck on that idea. We may or may not have had some moments like that today. Where we were stuck on what we wanted or what our own idea was because we weren't relationally connecting.
Yeah.
I wasn't caring about you and you weren't caring about me. We were caring about
worried about our own thing and what we were trying to say, even though it was the exact same thing.
Yeah, we
do that a lot.
Do that a lot.
We do that a lot.
So there's two different ways that you could see this appear. Like maybe you see it where it's just like gone.
Yeah.
You're really struggling and you cannot seem to recover. Or sometimes it's just dim. So you're maybe not able to, you can feel your emotions. They're starting to affect your day or what you're choosing to do, but they're not taking you out at the knees.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yep. So some other things that your RCs are responsible for. Receiving from others, to be able to receive from others. So we learned about that if you watched our last video, our last workshop, when we talked about the maturity levels. Being able to receive is something that you do at the infant level. So the very first level of maturity is the infant stage, and being able to learn to receive happens there.
Right.
So if you think about it, though, so what's happening is you're actually being trained to have your RCs on to be able to receive.
So as a baby, when you're learning how to receive, you're learning how to be relational.
You're learning how to be relational as a
right.
baby. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're just saying that out loud sounds so silly and so simple, but really it's that simple. I'm learning to receive from you, which means we are building this relationship.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So Chelsea, Brianna, is that Brianna?
Brina, no,
what's
it's
up,
Brina.
Brina? And
hey,
Chelsea.
Hannah.
What's up, and Hannah? How you guys doing? Glad you joined us tonight. So again, you're not able to. Other things you're responsible for is to be able to receive from others. It's also allowing creative solution to be found. So like thinking outside of the box. It's allowing you to have non-typical ideas.
Right. So when you seem stuck on an idea, or even I know with everything that's changed, everybody's become stay-at-home moms and workers and homeschoolers. Having your relational circuits on, and as we talk about this, I feel like I'm frustrating people because they don't know how to turn them on or keep them on yet. We're getting there.
We're gonna get there.
But will actually allow you to find creative solutions. So when you feel stuck in a problem and you're not able to kind of work it through or figure out, you know how when you're like, oh, there has to be an answer, but I just can't find it. Oftentimes, turning your relational circuits on will really help you find that solution. It gets your brain functioning in a totally different way.
Yeah, very true. Another thing, which I think is pretty awesome too, is that you're able to distinguish between current and past events. So if you think about trauma, for instance, if you're stuck in a trauma loop, so to speak, or you get triggered by trauma, what's happened is your relational circuits for the people that you're with around you are shut off, and you have immediately gone back into that moment of you can't differentiate between exactly what's real and what's not real, and what's present and what's not present, because you're not, again, attuned to yourself. You're not able to use your senses because your circuits are off, so you're stuck in that traumatic event.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, not able to tell that maybe the people around you are now safe people, but the people before weren't. And so another interesting thing that RCs are responsible for is controlling cravings. We won't talk about how things go now that everybody's at home and eating way more snacks than we used to have.
Yeah.
Another key thing that RCs are responsible for is responding instead of reacting. Wow, what a difference when you're able to slow down. I don't know, it's almost like a operation of time, it feels like, when you're back in control of yourself. I think there's some control that's happening that you're able to calm and connect and realize my actions are going to affect other people and myself.
Yep.
So having relational circuits on and functioning well is important for that.
Yeah, and then also that leads right into resolving conflict. Because if you can respond to a situation or to a comment or to something instead of reacting out of frustration or impulse, where you can kind of sit back and, you know, recoup and connect with yourself and attune to that person, then it's going to help you stay relational with that person through the conflict.
Right. Yep.
So it's amazing.
So one of the things we talk about in Rare Leadership, which we shared that book in our last workshop, is keeping the relationship bigger than the problem.
Yes.
And in order to be able to do that, your relational circuits actually have to be on. So they give you the ability to do that.
Yep.
So,
and then the last one, and then you can explain on this, but it's helping you connect with others and finding your belonging group. So what do I mean by that? What is that?
So this was interesting as well for me. This was one key area that I really struggled, not even knowing that it had to do with RCs at all. I thought it was everybody else. You know,
remember that?
So I struggled in my healing journey and prior to my healing journey connecting with people. I had a lot of loss, a lot of rejection, a lot of abandonment in my life.
Yeah.
And so anytime I had to go be with a group of people, if I was not teaching them, I was miserable and oftentimes very, very anxious.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel like people were really glad to be with me. And oftentimes that ended up being my experience.
Yeah. And it had to feel like horrible.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
But it was my experience because my relational circuits weren't on. So I also was sending a message, which this sounds cheesy, but I was sending a nonverbal message that I'm not really glad to be with myself right now. So I'm not really glad to be with you because I don't know how you feel about me, and I'm more worried about that than I am just being with you. And my relational circuits weren't on. So I was focused on the problem, like we talked about, focused on the problem of feeling uncomfortable and feeling unwanted.
Yeah.
And so even if people were really glad to be with me and excited to be with me, I couldn't tell that. I couldn't detect it because my relational circuits were completely off.
That's crazy.
But boy, once I learned how to turn them on and how to practice that, complete game changer.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the things or some of the ways that you can determine where your brain is. If your relational circuits are on, if they're off, if they're dim. So we're going to talk through a few of those things. So one of the things is that if you're focused on accomplishing your to-do list and people or God or other people are just a bother and they get in your way, then usually that means that your relational circuits are off. Yeah. So like if all you're worried about is completing a task, like I have this goal I want to do and I'm going to go down this road, I'm going to complete this task, and all of you people can get out of my way. I don't care what you have to say. I don't care what you're doing. Leave me alone. It could be a sign, not always, but it very well could be a very strong sign that your relational circuits are off.
Yeah, I think this actually happens quite often. And it's not even so much like in this moment I could care less about people, or I think for me anyway, I'm an entrepreneur, so I work and I have a really strong work ethic, and I can get into projects and tasks and I'm completely disconnected from being relational.
Yes.
I'm focused on, yes, that was too quick of it. Yes, did you hear that?
We work in the same office.
We do, and it's kind of embarrassing now how relationally disconnected I stay during the day. But there's brain functioning that's happening there, though, right? So we weren't going to get a ton into brain science tonight, but I think this is a neat spot to kind of enter it, is that your right side of your brain is actually the relational portion of your brain. Yeah. The left portion of your brain is your thinking brain or your functioning brain. Yeah. That's the place where problems are solved. So 9 times out of 10, I have learned to function out of my left brain. Okay. A lot of counseling for me was, you actually have a whole other half of your brain now that you get to use.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay. It wasn't a fun journey to get there, but it's been amazing. I got there, and God designed us to where our brains should work together, both sides in harmony, to not only allow us to be relational from the right side of our brain, but also to problem solve. Like, what a great combo that is when you're in relationship and I'm relational with you, and I'm not just trying to fix you.
Right.
Like, out of my left side of my brain, I'm not trying to look at you and fix your problems. fix your problems, fix how you're my problem, all those things, but I'm actually able to keep that relationship bigger than the problem and stay connected. So back to my initial story about how I stay relationally disconnected is because I live and work out of the left side of my brain quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so it's a real practice for me to learn how to function out of both. And it's not you're a bad person because you're focused on your to-do list and people are a bother. It's just an indication that, hey, my relational circuits aren't on, and I would actually be a much happier person if I could do this task and still feel really connected to God or other people.
Yeah, and I think too, for me sometimes it's the, it's not so much of that, but it's I didn't learn how to really receive or even ask for what I needed when I was younger. So for me, it's more the like, I'm just going to do this by myself, and I don't need anybody's help to help me, and I'm not going to ask for anyone's help. And so my relational circuits are off in that way because I feel like I need to do it all myself.
Does it make you feel alone?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You feel alone, you feel lost, and then sometimes you even feel less than because you feel like you don't know you have to ask for help.
Interesting.
And so there's this struggle to stay. So imagine if I could stay relational in the middle of doing a project and then I get stuck.
And knowing that you have people who are glad to be with you and wanting to help you.
Yeah, it'd be so much easier just to go and say, hey, can you help me with this? Because I'm not quite seeing that.
Right.
I don't know how that's going to work. But since my relational circuits are off and there's those things that I wasn't taught that I'm learning now, there's still that struggle for me to have them on in the middle of a project or doing something.
Interesting.
Yeah.
As you were saying that, I was thinking about, I'm probably the flip side of that, where I feel like I have to do it all myself. And nobody wants to help. Nobody is helping me
or able to help me.
Yeah, and so because my relational circuits are off, so I'm in problem solving mode and have to do it by myself mode. That's so interesting.
Wow, guys,
there you go.
We need help.
But it's interesting, isn't it? How like relational circuits, depending on who you are, what your background is, what your personality is like, can look two totally different ways, but you're still struggling with the same thing.
Yeah.
And so I just find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Another question to help you determine what state your brain is in is, do I want to just make a problem, person, or feeling go away? And we have all been there, right? Like you can get into a situation with somebody that you love and you can be super frustrated at your kids or at your spouse. And the biggest thing you want is for that person
just
to like
leave.
Disappear off the face of the earth, right? That's usually an indication that you're not connected.
Yep.
You're not experiencing relational connection with them, and the problem has definitely become bigger than the relationship.
I want to go to this one here. It says you don't want to be connected to someone that you usually like. So think about even in a marriage situation or a brother or sister or even friends to where something happens or whatnot and you're just like, I don't even want to be around them. I don't want to have anything to do with them. I don't want to talk to them right now.
Right.
And so you want to separate yourself from them because of, but you love this person. You usually spend all your time with them, but you're just like, it's not that I need my alone time. That's different.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah, I would say I've experienced this. I would say in different parts of my healing journey, there was definitely times where I was like, I can't people right now.
Yeah.
And, but it's interesting that that's actually, because I think about depression and I think about how depression is very much a lot of the things we're even describing right now. And I'm not going to try to say what depression is or isn't,
right.
But it's very interesting what the similarities are here.
Yeah.
What if a lot of depression has to do with non-functioning relational circuitry? What would it look like because I know what that feels like to not want to be around anybody and not, a friend might text me and offer me an encouraging word and I'm like, I can't even, I don't even want to be, I don't even want to hear it. Yeah. What it would look like if in that moment practicing relational circuitry could shift everything.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And keep you out of bed for 6 months at a time or,
that's really good.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting. So a couple more things on here that can help determine where your state of brain is, that you don't want to listen. And just what Janelle was saying, you don't want to listen to what others feel or say. You can't receive it. You don't want to.
Yeah, I think that comes in arguments. I see this happen in arguments a lot. Well, not between us ever.
No.
But when you get into an argument and you're just like, no, I don't want to hear about it.
Well, it goes back to that. You're stuck on your own point. You're stuck on your, you're stuck.
So when you're not even willing to consider what the other person is saying, that's usually not a good indication of where your relational, or it is an indication of where your relational circuits are.
So, and then you just want to get away. Flight or freeze. You want to fight, flight, or freeze, basically is where you're at. You're like, I can't handle this. I'm shutting down. I'm done. Right.
We, again, don't want to get too brain sciencey on you, but a lot of people who know anything about trauma know about the amygdala. So if you picture your brainstem here, amygdala is located down here below. And when we get upset or triggered into any kind of trauma, and again, trauma can be two different types of trauma.
Yeah.
So you have B trauma, which is bad things have happened to you and it's caused trauma, or A, which is the absence of trauma.
Absence of something you need.
Or I'm sorry, not absence of trauma. Absence of something you need, exactly. Can both be trauma triggers. So I think people have learned a lot more now than they've ever known about trauma, that there's a lot more that we've experienced than what we realized. But what's so cool is brain science now is capable of showing us what's actually happening in our brains.
Yeah.
So back to the fight, flight, or freeze. When you're triggered in trauma, you go to your amygdala, which is way down here in the back of your skull. But where all your happy functioning is actually, I'm going to do Tennyson's forehead, in your frontal lobes. And so how you stay healthy is to continue to build this path from, I have to problem solve, because we all do. That's human job, right? Is to have a situation that could be very critical that I need to be able to solve. That's why God gave us that part of our brain. But I need to be able to make the path and live mostly from up here. Yeah. When I begin to live down here, then I can get stuck here. And some of these pathways are harder to travel. And so when kids have experienced a lot of trauma, a lot of you know that we fostered a lot of kids. They're living most of the time from this space. And so it makes it really tough. But the good news is this is lifetime. You can continue to build.
Yeah. So very good. So all those things we just mentioned there. So answering yes to any of those mean that your relational circuits are probably not as bright as they should be.
Yeah.
So when your RCs are off, it gets a bit tricky. So because at that point your brain really isn't interested in knowing that they're off.
Yeah, it really doesn't want to know.
They just don't want to know. It doesn't care. Like, I'm done. So you're kind of stuck, like we were saying earlier, you're stuck in that one track mind where your mind is just, you're there. And even if it's going to run you off a cliff, you're digging your ditch and you're going down with the ship.
Yep. I mean, I come from pretty stubborn blood, but I don't think I'm the only person who's ever been in that situation where you're just like, I know what I'm doing right now is actually not helping me. It's not helping anybody else, but darn it all, I'm going to follow this through until I crash.
Yeah.
That's where your relational circuits and where you're stuck down here in your amygdala.
Yeah.
So you're not able to get back into being relational with people, able to recover back to joy and remembering that people are glad to be with me and I'm glad to be with myself.
Yeah. So as we move on, it's a really good idea, and as you go through this and you begin to notice some things, it's a really good idea to just check in with yourself, to get in the habit of checking in throughout the day to see how you're doing, see how your RCs are. If they're on, if they're off, do you feel, that you're able to accomplish some of those things that we talked about, or you feel like I can't do that at all? Yeah. So that would help you just be able to regulate kind of where you're at, and RCs, are they on, are they off? Especially when you're getting ready to go people, as we like to say, as you're getting ready to people.
Yeah. It's always good to check in. Let's talk about a couple ways that you can easily check in, because we've named a lot of ways that your RCs are on or off. But if I was getting ready to go people, let's say, what would that look like for me to check in with myself?
So the first thing you want to, not the first thing, but one of the things you can do is just to quiet yourself.
Okay.
Just take some time. If it's deep breaths, if it's just being alone, just quieting yourself, calming your body, and just relaxing is one way that you can begin to check in with yourself to see if your RCs are on. Okay. Another way is remembering moments when people were glad to be with you. Pictures are really good for that. So you definitely can have pictures around if you are in a place where you're like, oh man, put pictures on your walls or on your phone or on your desk or whatever that remind you of good times.
Yeah. So it's actually a little bit of a brain trick that you can play on yourself to pull back. Again, I'm just going to use this all night, I guess, but it's just such a good visual to pull yourself back out, because it's basically reminding your brain, like, hey, we've been happy before, and we like here much better than we like here. So like you were saying, pictures. Load your phone with pictures.
Yes.
Not pictures of random things, pictures of things that bring you joy. Or put a picture on your desk. Put multiple pictures on your desk.
Yep.
When you have a special moment with someone, take a picture.
Yeah.
It's such a fun, easy way, especially with technology now, to bring happiness back to your brain.
Yep. Another one is to practice appreciation. So what's appreciation?
So appreciation is when you're thankful.
Correct. Yeah, that's true. Being thankful.
Yep. But this actually really works well when you're triggered by somebody, believe it or not. When you can remember something that you're thankful for with them. So there have been times where Tennyson and I have been frustrated with each other. And this is something that we practice. We literally will walk away from each other. And we didn't even know we were both trying this until we would come back. And I'd go to the bathroom or whatever, and he'd wander somewhere. And we would come back and we'd say, okay, I just had to remind myself that I'm really thankful for you.
Yeah.
And it was amazing how it turned our relational circuits back on. And we weren't struggling to, like, we weren't doing this anymore. It was like, oh, I see you.
Yeah.
Oh, you see me.
Yep.
Okay, we've actually had some really great joy together.
Yeah.
So, and that also helps. Pictures work the same way.
Yeah.
Like, when you walk up, if you're struggling with your spouse, struggling with your kids.
Yeah.
We're talking about like peer relationships, but boy, oh boy, when you're frustrated with your kids and you're just like, being able to remember how thankful you are for them is a great way to reconnect.
And here's another little side note that we weren't talking about, but whenever you have to discipline your kids, in the middle, because we all have to, or we've all had to at one point or another, and you probably will have to again. The trick is your kids, you just need to, as you're disciplining them, you need to also let them know that you're glad to be with them. It's like, even though you did this thing that was really dumb and I don't approve and it was just wrong, I'm glad to be with you.
Yeah, but it's hard for you to be glad to be with someone who has who has done something that has driven you to the point of like really having to anger. Let's just be honest, as parents, right?
You get angry.
You get angry, and so we never want to discipline out of anger. No. That's never a goal. It's not a win for anybody. So while you hear that, but what do you do about it?
Yep.
You know what you do? You turn thankful.
Yep.
You think about and you take the time to allow your body to rest, to quiet, to remember how thankful you are to be a parent, to be a parent of that particular child, even if there's something that's tough that you have to deal with. And even, I would say, in a marriage, when there's something that has to be addressed, remembering how thankful you are for each other really is the key.
Absolutely. And if that means you have to take a step back and walk away before you come in discipline, whatever it is, but you need to do that because just so your kids know that you're glad to be with them. Yeah. In the middle of it.
Yeah, and that's really what the end message will be.
Yeah. Some other ways to practice appreciation. So you can take notice of nature, express gratitude of nature, just enjoy what God's creation and what He's created for us to enjoy.
Yeah.
Think of something that you really enjoy, and if you can't in the moment, then you can ask God to help you to think of something.
Yeah, there was definitely seasons where appreciation was like one of those things where, they're like, well, practice gratitude every day. List 3 things that you're thankful for. And I was like,
I don't have 3 things.
But honestly, I forced myself to practice. I did. I couldn't write a sentence of like expound on, I'm thankful for blah, blah, blah. I was like, birds. I just started there, and I started with nature. And it shifted because, again, didn't have a great track record there.
Yeah.
So it began to build like, oh yeah, I am really happy when I see birds. Oh, I am. Okay, so the world's not going to end. Yeah. And every time I saw a bird, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm still happy to be here.
Yeah.
So another way to restore connection is through touch and eye contact.
Yes.
And this is really important with your spouse and with your kids, is that, I don't know about you, but we've ourselves and talked to a lot of people who are struggling in their marriages and in their relationships, or even in their relationships with their kids. And a lot of times it's because there has been no touch and no eye contact in a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
So one of those very simple things that we encourage spouses to do is pray together.
Yep.
Every morning for a few minutes. But don't just pray together, touch each other while you pray.
Yeah.
Sounds dumb,
but it just brings, there's a connection.
There's a connection that is created. And those RCs are automatically turned on when we touch. So if you know that you have a kid that you have to discipline about something, or you know you have a tough conversation you have to have, if there is a way for you to initiate touch prior to, even hours before, right? Like, Johnny did something, and when Dad gets home, we're going to have to talk about it, right? Touch Johnny.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the day, just to reestablish connection with him.
That's really good. Yeah.
So
all those things, they may be really hard in the beginning because it's a learned skill. It's a practice. You keep practicing, and you're going to mess up. You're going to make mistakes, but you keep practicing on it. But it may be hard in the beginning. So what you can do, you create a library of things that you can reference that you're thankful for or that you have gratitude for.
Okay, good.
So you can always go back to that, whether it's on your phone, whether it's in a journal, or wherever it might be, where you can go to and look at. If you're having a tough time, you can go pull up your phone and you can go, oh, yeah, okay.
I remember that
moment. Yeah.
And it does. It's again, tricking your brain back to that space.
Yeah.
So also having a daily rhythm of appreciation as an entire family helps keep all your relational circuits on together.
Yeah.
Which is great. So when you're starting to experience that, I mean, everybody's been trapped in the house together, right? So thankfulness is maybe something that you're struggling with, or connection. Everybody's kind of maybe holed up in their rooms at this point because nobody wants to be together anymore. Practicing appreciation together as a group is really a neat tool to use. This can even be done with little kids. You can practice appreciation together just by drawing a picture.
Yeah.
So back to Johnny. We're going to have to name our little children that we keep referring to.
Yeah, we have Johnny.
Johnny works.
Yeah.
Even Johnny can draw a picture. Hey, Johnny, draw something that you're really thankful for today, or something that makes you happy. Can you think of something that makes you happy? And Johnny can participate too, which is really neat. This is a skill that is important in childhood.
Yes.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
Remember how we talked about in infancy, your only job is to learn how to receive. And so, again, that goes right back to that relational connection.
Yes. Yep.
Thankfulness is actually a relational connection as well. When you have a 6-year-old who's happy to be with other people and is thankful for what they have, they are developing connection and relationship in their brain and in their brain circuitry that they're not building if they're not practicing those things.
Yes.
So even if it's silly to have Johnny draw a picture for 5 minutes, it's actually a really big gift to him.
Yeah.
Because when life gets tough, as we all know it will, he's going to be able to stay much more up here when he's dealing with his challenges than be living from down here.
Absolutely. And it also too is why in the Bible it says enter his courts with praise and thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Because again, God created us. He created our brains. He knows how our brains work. So he knows that be able to receive from him and to connect to him, that we have to be in a state of relationally connected to him and turned on. Our circuits have to be able to receive the love and what he has for us. And so that's why we have to enter his courts with praise and thanksgiving.
Right. Yeah. So he actually designed it that way. I remember when we realized, like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Like, you knew the whole time.
God. You knew what you were doing.
God. that coming into his courts with praise and with thanksgiving actually turns on our ability to connect with him.
With him and each other.
And with each other, with the body of Christ.
So go figure. He kind of knows what he's doing.
For sure. Before we get into written appreciation, I just want to circle back because I know some people have joined us a little bit later.
Yep.
And so I want to just do a quick summary of how do I test again if my relational circuits are off?
Okay.
So if I'm feeling kind of out of sorts, what are some questions that I could be asking myself?
So you can be asking yourself things like, are you focused on just accomplishing your task or just your goal, and the people around you don't matter? You don't care about them. You just want to get your thing done that you want to do.
Yeah.
It can be something where you want to just get away from people. You just, I can't people today. I'm done. Also, some things could be like people that you normally are connected to, you don't want to be connected to in that moment, where you want to just push them off to the side. But these are people that you love and that you cherish and that you enjoy being with, but you just don't want anything to do with them right now.
Yeah, that's good.
So yeah, also too, your mind being locked on like just a negative thing or something upsetting.
Yeah, where you just can't think about
anything else. You're just stuck on that.
Yeah. So in order to turn our relation
no
relational circuits.
Yes,
RCs back on, we can do quiet.
Yep.
Or we can quiet ourselves. We can practice appreciation.
Yep.
And we can restore contact through touch and eye contact.
Yes.
And it doesn't even have to be with the person that you're frustrated with. Yes, ideally that would let you know that, hey, we made it through and we're still connected. Or we've been able to reconnect. But even if you can practice that with someone else, sometimes a phone a friend works in this area.
Yeah.
Where if you can't be thankful, you can't
that's good.
have any, you can feel yourself pulling away. Having a friend who's willing to call you on it is a gift.
Yes.
Who's like, hey, you've been hiding out for a week. Where you at?
Where you been?
Or a friend that you can call and say, my husband's driving me crazy and I don't want to recover. I just want to throw him off a cliff. Like having a friend who can bring you back to the space of saying, yeah, but remember who Tennyson really is.
Yeah.
Remember who he's been for you in this situation, this prior situation. That will also help you as well.
Yeah.
So that's where community comes into play.
Yeah. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to move into a time of actually written appreciation. We're actually written interactive appreciation.
Yes.
And the interactive part is because we're going to involve God in this interaction.
Okay, so we're going to interact with God in our appreciation.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Thank you. And I do know maybe some of you that are watching right now or you're going to watch in the future that you may not be in a place where you can ask God or you feel like you can involve God in anything like this or be appreciative for things in this moment. I just really want to encourage you to try to stay connected with God and with us in this moment as we walk through this, and just give it a try.
Just give it a try.
And let's see what happens.
Yep.
So if you have your pencil and paper that I talked about at the beginning, grab your pen, paper, something to write on, and grab that. I'll give you 10 seconds to go grab a piece of paper, and it can be a scrap piece or line paper, whatever, but something to write on. And a pen or pencil. And we're going to do this with you, so you're not alone in this. So what we're going to do, so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to quiet ourselves. And it's a really simple exercise. We're going to take 3 deep breaths together and just kind of calm ourselves and just begin to turn on, try to get our circuits turned on. So everybody take a deep breath in and out. Again, in and out. You can close your eyes too, that helps sometimes. Deep breath in and out. Okay. So, Lord, we just invite you here into this moment. We invite you into every room that is watching this video at this time. And Lord, I just ask that you would bring something to mind, bring a moment to mind that happened this week that brought them joy. So think of something this week that just made you happy, that brought joy, put a smile on your face. And as you're thinking of that, and as you have that in your mind, I really want you to try to put yourself back into that moment. So, were there smells? Were there sounds or tastes or colors or different textures that were happening in that moment that you can connect to? That will help maybe even heighten that moment in you right now. and see if you can even feel some of the same feelings that you were feeling during that time, in that moment. Okay, so now that you have the moment and you've got the sights and the sounds and the tastes, this is where we're going to express our appreciation in this moment to God. So grab your pencil and write that moment down on a piece of paper. So whatever that moment was, write it down. And if you need some writing prompts, it can be something as simple as, "Dear God, thank you for," and then write out that moment. So I'll give you some time. You don't have to hurry. We're going to write ours out as well. And then we'll be like 3 or 4 minutes. A few more minutes, actually probably about 30 seconds. And it doesn't have to be anything elaborate, just your appreciation for what happened this week. Okay, so here is where the interactive part comes in. So this is where we ask God, just what does he think? Just take a moment and listen and just ask God, what does he think about that moment? Or what is his response to our thankfulness in that moment? And if that is something that may be a little hard for you to do, think of what a good parent would say to their child, telling them thank you for something. Mm-hmm. Like what would that sound like? What would that look like? So go ahead and you want to write that down as well. So you want to ask God, and then you want to just turn off your brain and just write. So just ask him ask him, God, what do you think of this moment? And then write it out. And you can if you need some prompting again, it could be something as simple as like, "Dear," and then whatever your name is, because the Lord's speaking to you, and then just begin to write that.
He's responding to your thankfulness.
Yeah. So let's do that. About 30 more seconds. Okay. So now that you've written your appreciation and you've asked God and He's responded to your appreciation, then what I want you to do is just take a few moments and read over what you wrote and just see how that feels to you. Does it give you peace when you read His response? Is that something that you're like, yeah, I feel that feels right. That feels like the Lord is speaking to me. So go ahead and take time and read that over. Yeah. How did that feel?
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And so the last thing that I want you to do with this is, so you've written your appreciation and you've written the response, you've read it, and I'm believing in that it brought you peace to listen to His response the way that the Lord spoke to you. And so now what I want you to do is give this response, or give this appreciation, interactive appreciation, a 1 to 3 word title.
Mm-hmm. So remember, we talked earlier about your library and building a library of appreciation. Yeah. So this is your official first entry.
First entry.
So go ahead and choose a title.
Yep.
And
1 to 3 words.
1 to 3 words.
And you want to write it down. So make it something that you can remember. And so the great thing about this too, like Janelle was saying, this is your first entry for your library. So you can put that title in your phone, in your note section.
And we're going to actually, we got a little something coming for you. Let's do our 1 to 3 word title.
1 to 3 word title. Need a title. Okay, awesome. So that's your first entry. So hang on to that. So what I want you to do right now, after you've done that title, go ahead and check in with your RCs. Check in with your body. Do you feel your RCs are humming? Are they on a little? Are they feel a little lighter than they were? Like they're. Do you feel more connected to God? Do you feel like you're more connected to yourself? And do you feel like you can be more connected to others after you've done this interaction?
Yeah, I definitely do. I can definitely feel mine around more. We had such a race to get started.
To get here, yeah.
That definitely feel a shift in me.
Just taking time to settle down. Mm-hmm.
So one thing that we would like you to do, and we're going to take a few seconds to see this, is would you please share your titles with us?
Yeah.
We would love to see what the Lord spoke to you or what your appreciation was. You don't have to give it away. Hopefully your title is something really elusive.
Yeah, it'll be personal between you and God. Yeah.
Yep. This isn't for everybody to know, but we would love to see if you did participate in this activity. Just go ahead and type them on in. We'd love to see those.
Yeah. So we'll keep going, but we'll kind of read them off as they come up. So we'd love to do that and see those. I guess I'll type mine.
Oh, you could. You want to add yours in? You could be the first guy.
Be the first one.
Ahead in the battle. Love that.
Family time. That's good.
All right, while those are coming in, you go ahead and type yours.
Yep.
So this is an awesome daily practice, like we talked about before, to do with your family. The magic of this, though, truly is not just, each step has its own rich reward. But the end goal is to actually share your appreciation with other people. And that's where bonding happens. So in your family, if you guys are struggling, or even if you're not, and you start a rhythm of appreciation together. A lot of families, this looks like maybe at the dinner table, highs and lows of the day. Very similar, right? Have you noticed how that small activity really works? This is a little more extensive and can be spent together in a constructive amount of time. But especially with your spouse, we've really enjoyed this part where we share our manual journal. Well, I almost gave it away, but appreciation moments together. And we had a group of people together that we had mentioned in our last workshop for the 5 weeks, or I think in our intro video, that we actually got to share our appreciation together. And it was so powerful to be reminded of how people interact with the Lord and how much goodness there is on the earth and how much there is to be celebrated. It really does create a bond.
Yeah.
So,
I see, Thomas, you did throwing with John. That's cool. Mine was called Deliverance.
Very good. Mine was Yellow Surprise.
Yellow Surprise.
So we have only a few more minutes left. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Thank you for trusting us and walking through this activity with us. We encourage you to make this part of a rhythm of your life. Even if it's something that's simple when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, just to remember to be thankful and get those RCs running in the morning. Remember, when you are in those moments where you feel triggered, you feel frustrated, disconnected from humanity, which might be quite a bit these days, take some time to just be thankful, and it can get things humming again. So we wanted to invite you as well to the workshop in the morning.
Yes, so tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, we'll be right back here. We're going to do part 2 of our 2-day workshop. And it's going to be on, Janelle gave it away, but it's on Emmanuel journaling. And so tonight we talked about the RCs and how to get your RCs back on. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about a really simple tool that you can use that will help you connect with God in a very simple way, where the RCs being on are going to be very, very important.
Right. And even we've begun with the first step today.
Yeah.
So we are excited to share that tomorrow, and it'll actually be something that we're going to offer ongoing as a part of community.
Yep.
If you can't join us, do you think we should tell them a little bit?
Might as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a few minutes
more
left. And in case you can't join us tomorrow.
Yeah.
We will be doing every Saturday morning a weekly check-in of appreciation and a little bit more with the Emmanuel journaling. So that way there is an opportunity for everybody to share together. And that way you can build community that way. It's completely free to join. It would be 30 minutes, real quick.
Yep.
But again, just staying alive and staying connected to other people is something that's very important, and it's something that we don't typically practice in our American existence. So we just want to provide an opportunity for everybody to get a chance to do that and practice it together.
Yep. So it's going to start, so that the check-in will start next Saturday, so the 25th.
Yes.
9 a.m. And then you can go to the website, tableandwellco.com. If you go to the community tab, you'll see it on there. It's called Weekly Check-In, and you can sign up there for that. But tomorrow morning is another 1-hour workshop.
And it'll be the training of how to do the Emmanuel journaling, which will be a piece of those weekly check-ins. So that's kind of like step 1.
Yep.
And we make sure you grab your journal and another pen.
Yep.
And join us back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.
All right, guys. Thanks, Lee Miracle. Good to see you, buddy. All right, guys. We love you. Thank you. And we will see you in the morning.
See you guys.
All right.
Bye.